Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 1902 Farmhouse project. I just got done with this shower video and I want to do a little intro to it. Now, one thing about this shower, I built it myself except for the pan. So I know every little mistake I made on this tile, and I made some mistakes, and I'm going to show you most of my mistakes that I made now so that when we go through and you see them, I won't get no bad comments. I realize they're there. I know I made a mistake. I'm a DIYer. I'm not a professional tile installer. So if you're a DIYer, come along with me. I'll show you the mistakes so that you don't make them yourself. All right, the first mistake I did was I was going with this edge trim from Sluter, and so I had to go down. I had to put the floor in first. So I decided to leave this trim out while I was putting my tile in. I should have never done that. I should have went ahead and put it in, even if I had to cut it off at the bottom. And another mistake I made was I pre-cut all my tiles and I cut them all long. And so I come up with 3 tiles here and then 2, and it should have been 2.5, but I didn't take into account of the cut line. So these are actually a little long. You know, I didn't take into account that I was going to have an 1/8 inch gap here. So instead of having 2 gaps, now I've got 3 gaps. So that's an extra 1/8 inch. Plus I must have messed up on my measuring. Anyway, every one of these was long, so that ended up short on my three in a row. Now that ain't terrible. I mean, I can live with that. That ain't terrible. This side did a little better, although I have to come back. I've got to repaint this room anyway, so I got on down here, got a little off running through here, but you know, I mean, it's a second shower, it's a spare shower, so not a big deal. All right, my second mistake was I should have did a little better on my cuts. So I got a big gap here because I thought it went straight, but it didn't. It come up. I'm hoping my cover will cover that. I went ahead and grouted in there anyway. And the same up here. I should have cut a little better. I cut a little tight here, a little loose here. And then over here on the side, that needed to come out some. It's not flush, it's inset. This one's kind of inset way up here, and that one comes up, and then this one's inset all the way. And also, I wish I hadn't used this plastic Sluter. I wish I'd used metal. The interior, other than some haze here and there, I still got to clean off. I'm happy with the way the niche turned out, other than the trim. I will come back in here with some silicone, and I went ahead and grout it, just have something to back up against. The same way with the corners. I'll probably end up siliconing all the corners. But as you'll see in the video, this shower is well waterproof. I'm not worried about the waterproofing at all behind the tile. I'm gonna wait on this, and I'm gonna wait on that until I get all my haze done, until I get my painting. I got to repaint in here. It's gonna be a little light, real light gray. This is a antique white, but it turned out to be a little more yellow than we wanted. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's going to be a long one. You can fast forward. I'll probably put a quick list down at the bottom in the description where you can jump to a section if you just want to look at a certain part. I'm not going to bring you along for every little step I did on this thing. It'll be like a few shots of a step, then we'll move on to the next one, because this video is going to be a long video. I started this in, I want to say May or June, might have been April of last year, and here it is March of this year. So, you know, almost a year I've been working on this shower off and on. So I'm gonna live with it. I'd be mad if I paid somebody to do this job, because I would expect to be paying a professional, but since I'm not a professional, I'm not going to hold myself to a professional standard. And if I don't like it, I can rip stuff out and redo it. So here you go. All right, everybody, welcome back to the 1902 farmhouse renovation project. And today we've got our tile, we've got our mortar, we've got our backerboard, and we're going to get ready to install our backerboard and our valve. So if you watched the last episode, well, I think it was part 17, I went over how to figure out the depth we're going to need to install the valve in this wall. So basically we got to look at these depth of the tile, the depth of the mortar, and the thickness of the board, and come up with a number to use. You got a little bit of leeway. So let me get this tile opened up and we'll see how thick it is. Alright, so here's the tile we're going to use. And so first I'm going to get a measurement of the tile, which is 3/8 of an inch. So if I said there, 3/8 of an inch. We'll probably have at least another 3/8 of an inch mortar bed under it. I like this tile, it's real rigid. I mean, not rigid, but ridgy. It'll grab the mortar real good. So 3/8 and 3/8 is 6/8. So 6/8 is 3/4. So that's 3/4 of an inch. And then we'll go over here and measure our backerboard. And this backerboard is slightly less than an inch. It's basically another 3/8. So we'll add 3/8 and 3/4. It's 3/8 and 6/8 is 9/8. So that's an inch and 1/8. So we needed 2 3/4 inches. We got 1 1/8 inches, so we'll subtract that from 2 3/4. That's how deep in the wall the valve needs to be. Alright, so I do the little math here. 2 3/4, which is also 2 6/8 minus 1 1/8 is 1 5/8. So that'd be the depth, but we got to also add in our 2x4, which is another 1.5 inches. So 1 5/8 plus 1 1/2 inches, which is 4/8, would be 2 5/8, or 2 9/8, which would be 3 1/8. So 9/8, so 1 1/8, so 3 1/8. That's how deep we have to cut our wall. 3 1/8. All right, so first you got to figure out where you want your valve. This is be center right here. You're going to be operating the valve. You don't want it too low or too high, so somewhere right in here would be a good place. So we'll just say we want our valve right here. For reference, that is going to be roughly 40 inches from the top of the curve here. All right, and then we're going to go in 3 1/8. 3 1/8. It's hard to get right here. There's 3 1/8. So we're about going to have to really carve out a big chunk of this 2x6, but then we'll put another 2x4 across and just tie it into this one. So we'll figure out where 3 1/2 inches is right here with 40 center, and then we'll cut out a notch in this board and I'll bring you back. Alright, so I've got the notch marked out, and so basically I split the difference here with a 2x4, made sure that it would fit in this. So basically it's going to go in here and set across. I'm going to take a jigsaw and hopefully this thing will reach all the way through. Make sure that fits. It fits pretty good. Now we need to measure our depth right here. Make sure we got it right. Tape's right behind you. Alright, so remember what that depth was? We got about 1 5/8 inches right there. I believe that's what we call for. It's almost 1 3/4 inches, but it's about really 11/16 is where it's at. So that's only a 1/16 off. So that's pretty close. Then we'll just measure. We'll come from here over to about where that's at, so we don't hit a pipe. About 19 inches, we'll cut us a piece off, and we'll get that in here, and I may end up having to come back and actually cut out more of this, depending on, I probably will, because the valve's going to be too big. I'm going to have to cut out more. We'll just go ahead and cut out what we need up and down. Alright, so basically here's where our valve's going to sit in here. So we're going to have to cut out a little bit above it, a little bit below it. It ain't got to be perfect. We'll just cut it back to where I had it right here and here. And we'll go ahead and put our board in and got it cut and ready. That'll give us plenty of clearance. This thing isn't quite center, so I'm going to put the valve a little to the side of it over here, which will be more center. So let me get this cut out and we'll bring you back. Alright everybody, I got the valve installed, and I remeasured this to 33.5 inches. So center is just to this side of this 2x6 here instead of the other side. So I went ahead and got it fairly centered. I don't love how this is awful close to that drain pipe right there. I'm thinking about cutting that off and shortening this pipe up a little bit. I think would be better than taking a chance of that thing rubbing a hole in that vent, which wouldn't be no water here, but it would be gas, sewer gases, so we wouldn't want that. And then we'll just run this hose up and up here, and we'll have to do something. Well, actually, this will probably be enough. We can just put a 2x up there and hook the thing that the shower head screws into, and we'll drill us a couple of holes, one here and one inside here, for these hot and cold water lines to run down. So I think I'm going to do this first. I might just go ahead and cut it off shorter anyway, but I've still got to cut this band. I'll bring you back. Alright everybody, got the valve installed and got the line running, and I hadn't finished installing everything up there because we ain't there yet. But so now we're going to get a measure from we won't go all the way to the bottom, to the top of this tub. We'll probably just stop right here at this lip with our Backerboard. So we'll get a measure from the top of that lip to the center, and then from the center to the wall, and then we'll cut a 6-inch round hole in this Backerboard, and we'll get it up here. Well, we also got to put another 2x4 here at 3 feet. So we got to take this board out, you know, run 2x4. We'll just have to stop it right there. It won't matter much above that anyway. Alright everybody, I got the 2x4 in at 36 on center, and I just secured it up here with those boards, and I had to add a 1/2 inch plywood that made it 2 inches. And now we're getting ready to build a cubby hole. I know there's another word for it, but I'm going to put it right in this area here. This is for shampoo and all to sit. And this good thing about this is it's going to be deep and wide, and it's not really going to get wet that much. So it's a good place to put it if you got room to put it in the. Could have put it in the back, but to me that'd be the worst place to put it. Side or front is to me the best. So what I'm going to do is I've got some 2x4s. Excuse me, I got some 2x6s, and we're going to mount the bottom one in here at a slight angle. Well, these are not square, but I'm going to put it in here at about a 5-degree angle, wherever it'll fit. Maybe right in there somewhere. Heck, I can go all the way down with it. But anyway, it's going to be, the bottom will be at a 5-degree angle, and the top will be at a 0 angle, so 90 degrees at the top. But you need to put your slope on the bottom where any water gets in here will run out. Of course, it'll be well waterproofed. I've got waterproof aqua guard. I kind of like the looks of that red guard. I've never used it, but Lowe's carries aqua guard, so it's kind of a blue looking So we'll waterproof everything really well. Alright, I'm going to get this installed and then hopefully we'll be ready to start putting on our Backerboard. Alright everybody, end of day one. We got a piece of Backerboard up here and we got the piece on the back here, so I've got to cut 2 pieces here. We're going to go up another foot here, another 2 foot in the back. Alright everybody, it's day 2. I'm going to get started today with cutting these long pieces. It's about basically going to cut a foot off of them. I think they're 47 inches. That foot will actually go up here and up here. And 2 of these stacked sideways is 6 feet, which would be that. Above that will be just regular green board. I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to waterproof it anyway. Anything the tile's going over will be waterproof. Alright everybody, I got her up. Now I've got to finish cutting out that niche right there, but I think I'm going to try to find a rotozip tool that will cut through this mess. It'll be a lot quicker and easier. I run out of screws, so I gotta go get some more screws anyway. One little box like this ain't enough. You gotta get more. You get either 2 of those boxes or 1 big one. Those screws aren't cheap, but you need to put them in, you know, pretty close together, especially around the edges. You can probably space them a little farther apart. Some place like here I got a little real close together, but better to have them than not. So of course this wall is just wood. Got 1 stud right here, and I think there's another stud somewhere right in here, but I wasn't really caring about that because this is 3/4 inch wood, so it's going to hold the screw. So I just put them where I want them. Alright everybody, this is where I got to yesterday into day 3. I didn't film nothing, but I pretty much got this bathroom wall here done. I forgot to run my water lines, so luckily I hadn't just put a few screws in when I remembered. It'd be pretty easy to take that back off. We got this pretty much done here. We've started on this shelf unit right here, so we got this side done. All I like now is this wall around the door here and then this wall here. Alright everybody, end of day 4. We got all the sheetrock up in here now. Got a little bit of mudding to do, patch a few little boo-boos, but ain't nothing big. That rotozip tool, I ain't figured out these squares yet. I do alright on circles, but squares give me heck. So we'll get some set 45 in here tomorrow. Quick set, fill in these big gaps, and yeah, we'll be ready to start mudding and taping. Alright everybody, it is the next day, end of day. Pretty much got most of the corners done. I still like some horizontals, but got some corner bead here. I gotta do the outside corners, but all the inside corners are pretty much done. The ceiling's done except for that seam. The closet is done except for the horizontals. So I think tomorrow is going to be a pretty easy. Just put some stuff on and probably go back over half of that, and it will be good. But well, that's a job. It's about 4 hours doing that. I'm slow, but you know, I ain't no professional sheetrocker. This is how the niche turned out. I got all this cut yesterday, and it's all fairly flush. There's a little bit of a lip here. I may come back with my knife and even that up. Now, one thing I did do was on all these screws, you want to take your putty knife and you want to go over. Now, if it's not too bad, it's okay. You really want these to be flush. not too proud, but I mean, you can tell when it's too, you know, not in far enough, or if it's just barely sticking out. That's no big deal. You know, go ahead and knock off all the little pieces that's going to come out around these screws. But just make sure they're flush and get all the stuff off of them. I went ahead and mixed my mortar up. This is large format tile mortar. I didn't really need it for this, for these tiles, but I already had purchased it. And with this, it calls for you to mix it, wait 5 minutes, mix it again. So I just, you know, mixed it with a mixer. I waited 5 minutes, I just let it slake in, and then I just mixed it back with my putty knife, drywall knife. And while I was doing that, I went ahead and cut some of this mesh off this big roll. This big roll is about the size of a big toilet paper roll. It's just a fiber. I don't know if y'all will be able to tell. It's just a fiber mesh. It's real soft, thick though. So on the corners here, I cut it in half. So we'll just have some small strips to go around. I just left it big on this, and I've still got to cut the corners here and the other corner. But I thought I'd just go ahead and put some of this on. I've never done this before, so basically what I'm gonna do is I didn't even bother to get the inside. I may just use this for the inside since I forgot to cut it. I forgot to cut these little bitty pieces here. I'm just gonna, I don't know if you can see on the inside. I know you can see this corner here. And so we'll just run a little bit of bead down through there. It ain't got to be very big. It's kind of like drywall, I'm assuming. You just put your little bead on, a little layer on there. Butter. Like that. And then we'll take our piece, and I got the wrong length here. It's hot in here. I'm going to show y'all this, and I'm going to turn the camera off and turn the fan on because it's very hot. I'm going to set this mortar down. Hopefully I don't step in it and turn it over. Alright, so now we're just going to set this in it. And this, of course, ain't as good as, it ain't as stiff as drywall paper, so kind of, since I've already cut these a little long, I'm going to go ahead and trim them off. I think keep from having a real thick corner down here at the bottom. Just poor planning. Trying to get everything done real quick, but sometimes you just can't do it like that. Alright, so we have my knife here. I'm just kind of work this in the middle into that mortar bed. I could probably just set this in there and then put the mortar on top of it, to be honest with you. It ain't as easy as drywall tape. It wants to move for you. I'm trying to get the wrinkles out without pulling the whole tape out of the corner. How good I got up there in that top. Now, we'll run us another. I'm just trying to get the edges down pretty flat. I'll just run another little small. A bit of mortar over the top of it. And probably end up taking most of this back out. I just want to cover this good on the edges mainly. I don't want a big thick bed of mortar in here to have to worry with tiling. So most of this will just come out. I just want to get it kind of set where to stay. Like I said, I may be doing this totally wrong. I'm just going by what I've seen, what I think I remember seeing. And now I'm going to just take my knife, pull that up the corner, get all that excess off. That wants to move. Let's take this corner and move this way. And the reason I do this is not so much in the corners to keep you from cracking. It's mainly to give the waterproofing stuff some place to really grab onto and waterproof your corners instead of having a big crack there. It's got to fill in. This membrane is waterproof on its own. So once this dries, of course the thin set is not, the mortar is not waterproof, but once this dries, when I go in there and waterproof with my aqua guard, aqua defense, whatever the heck it's called. I was going to get red guard and I didn't have it, but once I do that, this should be very, very well waterproofed. So I'm going to do that with everything. All the seams down through here, and I'll bring you back when we get everything done, and of course we'll let this set up overnight, and tomorrow I'll come back and waterproof everything. So I'll bring you right back. Well, that took a lot longer than I was expecting. Used a lot more mortar than I was expecting to. I ended up having to make 3 batches of mortar in that little pan, so I think about a half gallon would probably been plenty if I mixed it in a bucket. But she's on there. That niche was, the inside was probably the hardest part. The corners was a pain really too, but these flats, they were pretty easy. And I started with my mix was about peanut butter consistency. The second batch was a little drier, and then the third batch was about like toothpaste, so it was a good bit wetter. It spread a lot easier, but of course I dropped a lot more of it too. A lot more come off my putty knife, so just be aware that that dryer did a lot better in there. Of course, you don't want it too dry because then you know you need to be able to spread it out. So, all right, well we'll let this sit overnight and come back tomorrow and let's put some waterproofing on it. All right, everybody, is the next morning. Everything looks like it's dried now. A few rough, but it's dried. So I had to touch up a few little areas here that I brushed yesterday. So I touched them up with a roller, get rid of the brush marks. And now we're getting ready to do some waterproofing. I've got a little bit of trimming down here on this fabric, I think. That corner ain't so bad, but that's a little bit loose. But I was going to show you what I'm using. This is what I got at Lowe's. It's Aqua Defense. They make several different varieties of this stuff, but it's a waterproofing and crack isolation membrane. They make Red Guard, Aqua Guard. This just happened to be the one I could get locally at Lowe's. I don't know if what Home Depot sells. But Lowe's carries that Mapei brand. That's what I use for the mortar as well, or the thin set tile mortar. It's the Mapei. Of course I made a mess. That stuff's like flour, it gets everywhere. Didn't really need this large format like I explained earlier in the video. I originally had purchased large format tile to do this shower with. My wife didn't like it. We turned around, it was still in the store, we just turned around, took the tile back, got this tile, and I never did swap out the thin set, but I think that'll work. Hopefully it will, even though it is a lot more sandy than creamy. I would say it's very, very sandy. It's rough, more like cement. Sorry for the fan noise, but it is entirely too hot in here. So I went ahead and masked off where you could see. Of course, this area here, I'm not too worried if I get some there. I believe it'll peel up. Any of this flat surface, but there's a textured surface on the bottom of this. I do not want to get it on that. So I've got the cardboard under this paper to try to keep it off the bottom. I don't think it'd come off very well with texture. Now, I read the directions of this aqua defense, and they was talking about use of this fabric. So apparently this fabric it comes in that 6-inch roll. That's what you need, 3 inches on each side of the crack, and in the corners 3 inches on each side. So I didn't quite do that like I was supposed to, but it is optional. You don't have to do it, but you do have to fill cracks with thin set before applying this product. Now what it says to do is to take a paintbrush and put 2 coats, you know, put 1 coat on all the corners, the inside, this, put 1 coat on, let it dry, put another coat on, let it dry, and then put 2 coats rolled on over the entire thing. So I'm gonna get my paintbrush and I'm gonna put 2 coats. I'm gonna put a coat on, let it dry, then put another coat on, let it dry, and then I'll bring it back, let you see how that looks, and then we will roll it on. Hopefully it don't take about an hour for this stuff to dry, so hopefully by the end of the day we got it covered up. Alright, so first thing you want to do is, of course, open it, you got to cut these little slits. And this is what it looks like. This stuff here, and it's already half dried on the top, so it's pretty plasticky, rubbery. But you're supposed to mix it up good, so I'm already gonna make a mess. I didn't really want to use a mechanical mixer, so I'm just using a paint mixer this side. We'll mix it up good, and we'll kind of use this as a drip thing, as I dip my brush in, and maybe put some of this onto this. Let's see. Yeah, like that. Use this as a thing for my paint brush. Brush it on good. Want to get a good even coat. Just load your brush up. Really get in these corners good. This is almost like a pre-treatment. You're going to go over everything. According to the instructions on this, you go over everything 4 times. But I mean, you do 2 spot treatments like this around the joints, and then you do 2 roll-on treatments over everything. Later. Yeah. Alright, the niche is done. That's basically how I'm going to do the rest of it. I got 2 coats on all the seams. I also, on the second coat, I went around the top because the tile will actually go a little higher up on the wall, and at least to cover this beveled edge. So I'm thinking we'll just extend the tile up, you know, a few inches above that. So I'll go ahead and waterproof that. I'm not going too crazy with the waterproofing up there because it shouldn't get that wet. But just have to put this on so it's still pretty blue. It will dry green. In the thick areas you might still see some blue. I would just, you know, touch it when you think it's dry. If it's dry, it probably is dry, and you can go ahead and put a second coat on. Definitely wear gloves because this stuff, it will leave a stain on your fingers. I did that before I put my gloves on, so I need to wear gloves. And then when we get back, I'm going to take about an hour break. Get back, we're going to roll the first coat on, and then about an hour later we'll roll the second coat. Alright everybody, got 2 coats rolled on, and I tell you, the first coat goes on real slow, the second coat goes on real quick. It don't use near as much on the second coat as it does the first coat, but I end up using about half a bucket to do this surround. So it's about a half a bucket to a 5x3 as well, from what I can tell. I don't think it's going to have any issues getting water through it, especially, you know, I already got a slope on the bottom of my niche there, and so no water should stand in that niche anyway, even if it got in there, which, you know, the spray head's coming down this way, so, you know, it could bounce off your body and get in there, but it shouldn't linger. So I'm not too worried about that. I was glad I went ahead and taped off. I did get some down here, but I touched it right here, but that will never show. That's going to be behind the tile. And then there was a crack, I don't know if y'all can see, on this front corner here, the base. I ended up putting some silicone over that crack, so that shouldn't leak. Anyway, can't really tell it's white silicone, but it'll never show. So I'm glad I did mask it. I did get another drip right here, but no biggie. I think this will peel off. Tomorrow I'm gonna let it cure overnight and get on some other stuff. So I'll bring you back when we get started tomorrow, putting tile on. Alright everybody, I think today is the day we're gonna try to get these tiles laid. Now, first thing I need to do is try to figure out how I need to start my tiles where I'll end up with either a decent cut or a full tile. What I don't want to end up is with a sliver right here. So the way I'm going to do my niche is I want the wall tile to come under the tile I put in here, and then I'll put that sluter band around it. And it's just a white, the one I got is white plastic, so it's nothing fancy. Alright, so I need my tile to end right there at the edge. So what I'm going to do is get a measure, and I'm going to go all the way to the base with the tile. I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to take off 1/8 from this measure. So what I've got is roughly 51 1/4. So 51 1/8 is where I need to be at to work out. Alright, so now I'm going to lay my tiles out with my spacers. And the spacers, I believe, they're 3mm. So I got some different spacers. So I'm going to look and see what these look like. These may be too small, and I may go with the bigger ones, but we'll lay the tile out and see. Alright, so I need 51 1/8. Alright, everybody got them laid out, and with the 1/8 spacers, 3mm. So what we're looking for is to make sure that 51 1/8 is not going to end up right close to the seam. And you can see we've got roughly 53. So 51 1/8 will be almost 2/3 of the tile. So I'm happy with that. We can start off at the bottom with a full tile and just cut out around the bottom of the niche, and still have plenty of tile left. Always make sure you don't have a sliver cut. Alright, so we're going to get ready to mix up some thin set. The thin set I'm using, I went back and got yesterday or the day before. And it's just a porcelain tile thin set. I was afraid to use the large format tile thin set. I was afraid it was too sandy, so we're just going to go with this. Mix your thin set according to directions. You have to let it sit a minute, about 5 or 10 minutes, and do it again. Alright everybody, I don't know if y'all can see, but I've got paint stir sticks laid across the bottom of the pan here. And that'll give me about an 1/8 of an inch gap. Now, you can't use the bottom of your pan unless your pan is level. Mine's mostly level, so I'm gonna attempt it. I may end up having to shim it a little bit, but got a little 2-foot level. I'm gonna get the first run across, and we'll see how it goes. I didn't really, should have looked. I'm gonna lay them out dry across the back side and see how I need to cut them, and I'll do a run and bond on these. So I didn't really show y'all that, but something to be aware of. I'm not going to film all this. I'm not a Salvador Blasio or a Star Tile, somebody like that you can go look at. They'll show you how to do it the proper way. I'm going to do it my way, which I hope is the proper way, but I'm not going to be able to video it. So I'll bring it back as we go along. Alright, it has been 4 hours taking to get this one wall done. I'm using this leveling kit that I bought off of Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description. The only issue is this Ogori tile leveling system. The only problem is they don't give you enough of these. So luckily I had bought 2 kits. Remember I said I had one that was 1/16 and one was an 1/8, or 1.5 millimeter and 3 millimeter. This one's the 1/8, 3 millimeter. Luckily the other one had this bag, because I would have run out of these before I even got this wall done. And of course I could probably have gone back and took some off, the ones that's already set. But this is going to keep you from getting lippage. And another issue I run into was my thin set to start with was too runny. I had to put way too much water in the mix to start with, and I ended up throwing out a bunch of thin set because the time I got this wall done, it was already getting too hard, too dry. So I would suggest just mixing up enough thin set to last you for a few hours, and then mix you up another maybe a half a bucket at a time. I had almost a 5-gallon bucket full. It was almost a whole bag. So I think when I start on these other walls, I'm going to mix up about a half a bag at a time. And of course it always takes longer than you think it is. I also, I troweled the thin set on, and I also back buttered my tiles, so that does take a little longer to do that. But I can tell you from experience of trying to get one of these tiles off after I set it, it takes a lot of effort to pull the tile off the wall once you stick it on there. So I'm not worried about these tiles not having enough thin set behind them. Well, probably if anybody ever redoes this bathroom, they'll have to take a sledgehammer and beat these tiles out. So I would suggest doing that. I got in here, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, and got this wall here up. And so now all we like is this wall. So today I'm planning on trying to get at least 5 layers. I'm not going to kill myself and try to do it all today. If you're a DIYer and you got all day, like a weekend day, and you got a good back, you can tile this tub in one day, no problem. I just been doing it in a little bit at a time to recover. I don't know. You can kind of tell by this pattern that I'm going full piece, half a piece, full piece. So this first one starting here will be a half a piece, and then the next one up will be a full piece. So But basically what it's working out to be is 3 full pieces and 2 full pieces with 2 half pieces. So it's actually, it's going to work out either way. This side's going to work out good because there's nothing to keep me from extending it on out. The other side runs some issues. So. What I was going to say is get you a kit that's got a tool in it that looks like this with these wedges. It's going to make life a whole lot easier on you. We'll tighten these wedges up, and you can tighten them up by hand, but that kit makes it a lot easier. So we're just going to stick them down here, and this helps the lippage problems. Makes all the tiles level with each other. Now if you get inset in the groove, it's not the end of the world. You can clean it out. What you want to do is wait, and as soon as it sets a little bit, take these wedges out and get you something in there like a butter knife or something and run that mortar out there. If you wait too long, you're going to have to get one of those little oscillator tools. That's what I had to do with that one. Alright, so we're going to take this, tighten that joker up. Now, see it kind of spread it apart. I don't like that. Put it back together. Put them all in the same way. I wouldn't have so much trouble. No, put that there. you're ready to remove them, just wiggle them side to side, they'll come loose. You just have to watch now that thing pulls them apart. I don't like that. Make sure you keep your 1/8 inch and I missed that. Make sure you keep your 1/8 inch distance. You can do it by hand, but you can't really get them good and tight. That's way too big a crack. I don't like that. See how much crack here? This is way too big. This is a little big. This is about right here. You can also take your wedges and stick them in like that. Alright, well, I got the 5th level on and got it all wedged down, and I think I'm going to call it a day right there. Alright everybody, I've got the 2 on the bottom done. This one had a good bit of arc in it, and then this one not so much. So I was going to bring you along. I'll show you how I do this. Alright, so basically what I try to do is I don't try to measure anything. I'm just eyeballing. I'm going to stick this against this spacer right here. I'm going to kind of set the top up. I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to just make a mark here. I'm going to make a mark here. And then I've got to come up. I'm just going to draw an arc because this is going to go all the way across the top. Luckily, this is the only other piece I'm going to have to cut out for this. So I just need to find this arc right here. And what I could do is I could take this off and put it on here and measure, but I find it's probably just as easy to just hand draw it and something like that. I'll kind of stick it up here and see. It looks like it's going to be a little higher in the middle. So I'm going to say it's, yeah, probably at least that high. So what I usually do is do like 2 or 3 different times. I'll take a little bit off, I'll come back, fit it, then I'll mark it, take some more off. Alright, so I'll bring it over to my table saw, and what I'll do first is I'll make a series of notches with my table saw, and then I've got a pair of I call them snips, whatever. They're made for tile. You snip the notches off. I got videoed. My video card apparently got full. I must have left it recording the other day, but I've got this notched out around this mud guard, and of course you can see right over here I kind of chipped a little bit off, but I don't think it's going to matter. I believe that'll be covered up. If not, I can throw some grout in there to do something with, or maybe even some silicone, but I don't think it's going to matter. The plate ought to be good, a good bit bigger than this. So this black thing will come out when we get ready to put our shower valve or shower knob, valve knob on. So Hey everybody, I am back. I know for y'all it just seems like it's just a second past, but it is actually November the 28th, so it's been several months since I've done anything in here, it seems like anyway. So I got all my tile up, and I tried to cut it even with the sides and the bottom, but I got a little gap here. Might have to fill in with some grout. Went ahead and put me some of this down and 45'd it. Got the bottom piece set. Remember when I built this box, I already have 5 degree built into it, so I don't have to build up in the back. I just laid me a good mud bed. Got 2 pieces in the back. I got to do the top piece here, and it needs to come out, you know, pretty much even with this, and then I'll do my sides. I hope I got enough to do, you know, the whole run without having to split it. I'm using these big pieces, and this is actually the last piece I got. I think it'll be wide enough to cut it down and get 2 tall pieces. I don't know exactly what the measurement is. I've got a little bit out here. I think that's enough to do the top. So I actually found my little skill saw, table saw that I had bought originally, and I couldn't find it to start with, so I went and bought this porter cable. You can see the difference. This is a piece of junk. This is a fairly good table. I can't find a good blade for this tile. It just wants to chip. That's all I can do. This is that skill. It ain't really a skill saw, but it's a skill. Well, I guess it is. Skill saw. Alright, so don't buy one of these. These are junk. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and measure my top piece and cut it out. And I can't really put it in there until I get some side pieces ready to go in, because that's what's all going to hold it together. And notice up here, I just had some damn slivers. I didn't really pay attention when I built this box, but that's roughly 7/8 of an inch down to the side here and up the top. So it'd been a lot better if I could have went ahead and built this box down a little bit. You know, half a tile would have been great. Brought over another couple of inches this way would have been great. It's really a lot taller than it needs to be. That's a lot. I mean, it's almost elbow deep. I forgot to show you what that is. That is 18 and almost a quarter tall. Really no need in it being that tall. I think 12 inches would have been fine. All right, let me get this measured and we'll get this thing together. I got lots more to do today before it gets too dark. It's going to be freezing tonight. I got to get all my paint moved in here where I can kind of keep it warm, keep it from freezing. So that's what I got. That's why I'm trying to hurry up and get this done, because it's going to be down in the 20s next week. Alright, so I had a setback. I don't have another piece to do the top and make it. I got a piece, but if I did it, then I wouldn't have enough to do the side. So I need another one of these big pieces. So I'm going to stop today right here. It's a good place to let everything set up and get all this stuff off before I go ahead and put the rest of this in. Alright everybody, it is December 11th, and we finally got all the tile in place. I won't say it's a great job. It's not a professional job by any means. I could have done a little better job if I'd moved this over. I had a little sliver at the top, little sliver on the side, and I cut this tile here a little big, that one, and yeah, I think that's the worst one. I'm kind of afraid right in here I might have messed up too. I didn't take this mud guard off, and I'm wondering now if I should have and then tiled closer to the valve. But I'm thinking that mud guard is supposed to stay on so that you can do maintenance on this valve even with it tiled in. So hopefully that little bit right there, zoom in where you can see, won't bother me. But if it does, I can fill it full of grout. Now I ain't completely finished. I still got the sides to do. I still got these two little pieces at the bottom. So I got to get the floor in before I can cut these pieces, and then I got to know these side, how tall. And again on the side, there's some places I ain't real happy with, but this tile is so hard you can't cut it without chipping it. So I'm gonna let this be the learning experience right here. I would definitely say that it's a better tile job than my first tile job, although I could have done a lot better on the edges and, like I said, around the niche. And we got one more to do after this, so hopefully the next one will turn out a little better and won't take 6 months to do. Alright everybody, I got out here yesterday and actually got this thing grouted. I didn't video it, my phone wouldn't video for some reason. I didn't have my camera. The only issue is it left a haze on the tile, other than the crappy tile work, but don't blame me for that. But you can see I wiped this tile down twice. I wiped it down one time and then I thought I wiped it down again, but I still see areas like right here. It's real thick, so I've got some vinegar and water. I'm gonna try this, and if this don't work, then I went and bought some Grout haze remover, but it has to cure for 7 days before we can use it. So I'm gonna try this. I'll bring it back. We'll just do this little area right here. We'll wet it, wipe it off good, and then dry it, and I'll see if it's any better. Can y'all see that? Maybe. We'll do this tile right here. It's got the in there. It's pretty bad hazy. Alright, so here's the tile. That was a 4-to-1 vinegar to water ratio. I just sprayed on there. Some of it ran, so I wiped it off with my microfiber towel. And now we're going to check. Let's see, I don't know if it's coming in. Here's where it looks like it, here's one that's hazy. I don't know if that's going to show up. You can kind of see where I caught the bottom of that one. But this one, and the one right below it, you might see it better, like that. So it does appear to be working, and that is dry. That's not wet. I turned my towel around on the dry side and dried it. So I think I'm just going to use that and see how it does. I've got a few places I'm not happy with. Right in there, I missed some grout down through there. I'll probably come back and touch up some grout spots, especially in here. What I'll probably end up doing there is just put some silicone in the corners. But I wanted to fill that up with grout, just to have something to silicone against. I know that you probably ain't gonna pick up in here with this camera, but I'm really impressed on how good that vinegar water solution did away with the haze. I'm gonna let it set overnight and dry, because by the time I got wiped all over, my towel was pretty wet. So we'll come back tomorrow and see if it's hazy or not, and that'll be the test. Alright, it is the next day, and I see a few little spots here and there, and it probably needs a little razor blade scraper to it too. I see some right in here. Little places like that. I may end up having to come back with that grout remover stuff and just get it off. You gotta let this stuff cure for 7 days before you use that grout remover. But overall, that vinegar solution did a heck of a job. I can't see anything on these now. My grout, I'm not really happy with the way this thing grouted. That grout wanted to bubble out. And when I was wiping it down, of course, if you don't let it sit long enough, you'll wipe a lot of your grout out, which kind of happened on some of this, but it is what it is. Overall, I'm real happy with that vinegar solution. I would definitely recommend trying that first if you're having problems with the haze. And you know, the other stuff ain't that expensive. I bought some from Home Depot. You have to let it sit a while. I see something right here. It's definitely going to have a razor blade or something took to it. So anyway, I hope that helps you out on this shower install. And if it did, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. Thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, and